It's finally happened. After an entire year of development, on and off of course, because of so many phases of burnout, finally, version 4.7.0, or version 4.07.0, depending on whichever scale I feel like using on a particular day, it is finally released. Version 4.06.3 was the last update, all the way back in, what was it, like sometime June, July of 24? It is 2025 now. It is actually September 1st when I'm recording this. I think this video releases on the 3rd. It has now been, when this video is out, officially over a week, just about over a week, since I had released version 4.07.0. Pretty simply, version 4.07.0. The 26th of August. That was when I released this update. And oh boy, the fact that I can bring this chapter finally to a close and move on to a new project, it is something very great. So I just wanted to talk a lot about Scratcher Hunter in this video, and also why you should play it, because you should absolutely play it if you have not had the opportunity to. If you're listening to this video, I recommend checking it out. I'm going to have some Scratcher Hunter play footage going on. Probably right now might even be Limbus footage. I will probably put like a mixture of other games too, but Scratcher Hunter is a top-down Monster Hunter-like game. You'll know when you see it because of how bad the art style is. I improve, trust me. And we'll get to my art style improvements and other game development improvements over the years. I just really want to talk about this update, right? Very massive change log, 2 pages, and like probably like 50, over 50, close to 100 changes maybe. I don't know the number, I didn't count. I guess it's like maybe 15 per weapon or something. Maybe like 60, 70. You know, I'm not gonna be able to say for sure. There's so many changes. Dual Blades got a ton of new weapon changes, new attacks. Longsword got a bunch of new combos and some attacks. Hammer was completely reworked from the ground up, basically a brand new weapon with the most complexity I've ever made. Lance got a bunch of buffs, some new combo techniques, some monsters got some changes, and there was a bunch of miscellaneous bug fixes. That's the essence of it, but the amount of effort was a lot, especially on the mathematical side of things, because my animation system is very interesting, because it is using a lot of sine cosine functions. Not that that's like complex math, but in a very complex manner where I'm trying to interpolate between positions and try and emulate different motion patterns with only the ability to move things in and out and rotate them around, and revolve them and rotate them. Rotation, revolution, and orbital position, or like orbital distance, basically is what it is. There's only 3 components to my animation motion on each limb, and that's already a lot to compute to making things happen and knowing where to put things. But then on top of that, I also need to be able to understand how to get from point A to point B in a very sound manner. And for some attacks, it's really hard. And you'll see some weird oddities in some of the animations that do kind of feel nice sometimes and feel awkward and other times, and sometimes it's an instant jump because I could not be bothered to make an interpolation function. There's a lot going on, and I think I was getting more and more distant from the mic. I record everything on Audacity, and I just see a giant spike as I like kind of get myself a bit closer to the mic. I need to work on that. And I get quieter, get louder, just because I'm like distancing myself and I'm getting closer to the mic, and that's actually an issue. All of that aside, though, let's actually talk about some stuff with Scratcher Hunter and what this is. I keep on saying this. I'm unscripted, rambling, saying whatever I wish to say. But the main point that I really want to get at is just like, yeah, this was a very long update, a lot of intricacy, and at some points it's like you're stuck on trying to get this one attack to work because you want to work on it, and there's really not much else to do because I didn't want to start a new project in the update that I'd have to finish, like for example skills and stuff would take a lot of time to code in, and that would have been more enjoyable for me to code. I probably could have gotten it done faster, but I would have had to do all that work, and wasn't going to put more stuff on my plate. So I kind of got burnt out working on certain things. I dropped them and come back a month later and probably finish it in like a couple hours. And I really learned that like it's really hard for me to stick to one thing for a long time. And like once I get into a habit of trying to find an X solution, I learned that a lot of instances, a lot of times, I really can just not do the solution and just find a half-baked solution that actually still fulfills the goal. What's a good move that really represents? Well, okay, Skyward Bludgeoner, for instance, was supposed to actually flip the hammer, and you hit the with the main side of the hammer, swinging it in the clockwise rotation instead of the typical counterclockwise motion that it typically runs. That meant that it was basically on the clockwise motion face side instead of the counterclockwise motion face side. But that makes sense. If the hammer is pointing directly forward, upwards, and it would be on the right, the main frontal side would be on the right side to the left. It's a bit of a weird thing, but the essence was that I was going to horizontally reflect the hammer sprite and use that hitbox. That wouldn't have been a hard change. I just never did it, and I never really got to be working things around that. And once I made the weapon the way I did, I was like, yeah, might as well be fine. And sometimes things like that, I just don't really need to change every single thing. I think the Brutal Slam or whatever, the level 3 charge without power charge, that one, I spent a long time trying to find the mathematical function to really get a perfect overhead swing on that. I just kind of half-baked it because I could not find that perfect solution that had a perfect interpolation function that didn't make it like wobble in place or get stuck over the head and like keep a clean motion. That's not a hard thing to do, but when I'm in like a Cartesian plane type of sense, but I am specifically using purely radial type functions based portal functions based specifically on the portal point directly above the player's head, so I naturally have to play everything around that. And I guess it's like secant functions and stuff, but like it was just a lot to do, and I did not get to that point. So there's a lot of that was in my development process that I've learned sometimes you just need to avoid it. And to that, okay, so I did kind of get burnt out towards August, and then like September school starts, kind of senior year stuff, and that was a lot of college application garbage. Not like I worked particularly hard, I was very lazy with it, but technically it was still a thing on my mind and dragging me away from Scratcher Hunter despite the lack of effort. Whatever. Then comes the fun part, where of course, okay, so this robotics too. I did my last season of first robotics competition, FRC. That was a fun way to end off. It was a good year, good season. But January was also the start of my D&D campaign. Now I say D&D in greatest quotes, as one of my friends said, it's not Dungeons and Dragons, it's Dexes and Decadencies. Absolute unhinged nature that comes from me. Only from me do you get this level of unhinged trash that you don't even want to touch. In other words, pretty much I made an entirely unique storyline, unique world building, unique combat system. No turn orders, no initiatives. It's a dynamic turn order system that is based on the time frames of the attacks. This is actually on my channel. It is the Kraken Fight Session 14 video. That was the only session I ever recorded and the last official group session we did. Because after that I said, okay, our schedules aren't aligning enough to get a final session and just finish this chapter. And there was going to be 9 chapters. We never finished the first one. Rest in peace. It was going to be a 15 session chapter 1. That we finally ended in August because of how many weeks we missed. Mostly because of me, but like, okay. Anyways, the main point is that it was going to take a long time to get through the story. I have college now. I cannot be staying up till midnight making this garbage and spending 10 hours to serve 4 people a barely written story and combat functionality. But the main point of everything was just the complexity of the combat system and everything built around it. I just want to talk about this because this was my main game dev project this year in 2025. I barely did Scratcher Hunter. Scratcher Hunter is coming to a close mostly because of the D&D and also because of my future aspirations, which I will get to in this video if you care to listen to my rambling for that long. Pretty much, this system all started with like a very basic like hex map and then like a bunch of like marker widgets, and like everything else was like by the textbook pretty much. There was no interactivity. I'm gonna grab a drink of water. A rare hydration moment from Dex. I don't typically do this, but maybe I'm actually getting good habits, or my voice is getting dry, or I might be a bit sick. Whatever. I don't know. Mouth has been pretty dry lately. The main point in all, though, is that this combat system was insanely complex though, so that was never gonna work. So I actually started to get figurine characters just to make things a bit more stylized instead of these like depressingly like monochromatic no markers. Oh wow, they have a bit of brightness and saturation shift. Nobody cares. It's a monochromatic little blobbo. So what I basically did at that point was I gave them little sprites and I was going to animate them. I did animate them once for one animation to start off a session, And oh boy, did everyone love that. I also sang a song too. I could sing it again, but I'm not doing that now. Peak song, by the way. It was in a foreign language that I made up because, again, my own world building. For my story, I started in 4th grade, before Scratcher Hunter. I started Scratcher Hunter in 5th grade, 2019. I will make a cumulative Scratcher Hunter history video where I do talk about the beginnings of Scratcher Hunter, but basically it was like May 1st, 2019 when I started Scratcher Hunter. Actually, I might have been in 6th grade. I think I was in 6th grade. I always say 5th grade because it feels more right, because that's when Monster Hunter World released, was when I was in 5th grade. But yeah, 6th grade was the year I did start Scratcher Hunter. The story that my D&D was based off of, which is Plainess, originally called Fantasy Plains, that science fiction world I started between the 4th and 5th grade summers, summer of 2017, yeah, very, very long ago. That was a beautiful time, loved it. Peak, greatest time of my life, pretty much, because that, 4th through 6th grade, really, I made some of the greatest parts of my life ever in terms of creative works. But that's besides the point. That's more of the history of Scratcher Hunter and other things that I do, my Dexes and Decadency stuff. But anyways, the main point there is that, yeah, I made all these animation figures, and I didn't actually use the Scratcher Hunter animation system. I based it off of it, but I also have to factor in dual wielding with weapons that may not match the hands, so I have to manually code the hands differently and code the weapon to base itself off the hand positions. That was a whole other process. So this combat system, this animation system, is a bit more intricate, and that's gonna be how I make games in the future, because Scratcher Hunter is ending. Version 4.7.1 will be releasing in the next couple weeks. I will be posting daily videos until then related to Scratcher Hunter and some other random topics that I can make in pretty short term. And with all of that, like, what you're gonna see is that I will be making a bunch of these clips and stuff, and when that update releases, I'll probably still be posting more Scratcher Hunter stuff, but that will be the end of Scratcher Hunter. I won't be updating anymore, because I will be moving on to trying to publish a game on Steam using the Godot engine. I've been learning Godot barely. I need to do a lot more work on it. I've done like one thing on my GitHub, you can see that I did with some other friends. It never went anywhere. We got like burnt out. Not really burnt out, but it was really hard to get a direction with all of us like occupied with our own lives. It was a very busy time for everybody, so it was like it just didn't work out. It was a very unfortunate thing, but I mean, I still learned something and I got my motivation kickstarted. So pretty much that is where I'm going next. And this animation system from this D&D campaign will be carrying over. Now, as for the combat system, very complex stuff because of that game time based GTB is what I call it, because you use time blocks to determine actions and the turn order in a dynamic mode, where those time blocks can also vary depending on certain external and internal circumstances, sometimes by player decision and sometimes by outside decisions, such as a stagger and a near action. That type of stuff is very complex and UI heavy. I will not be using that system for a while, but it is a very cool system that I will be expanding on for those who are interested. I also have another combat system, ironically based off of Uno cards, but it's like actually kind of a more typical turn-based card game type of style, more like I don't know what a good example for it would be. I don't play that much games. A bit weirdly. I have been getting into Arknights though, which is why I've started using Arknights music in some of my speedrun clips. You'll see more of that. I use the next CC, not the Extinguished Sin, but Arknight, which is on CN right now. But yeah, I did get into Arknights in this time. Still loving Nimbus Arknights collab soon. Let's go. But the main point to all of this is, and I've been really getting a lot of mileage out of the main point to all of this because I'm just losing my train of thought as I just ramble on. The main point of all of this is, well, pretty simply, I have to regain my thought process, right? Because I'm just kind of spitting out whatever I can say off the top of my head. Yeah, the D&D campaign really took a lot out of me. I was spending like 10 to 20 hours per week on that, even with like all the other work I had to do with like school and stuff. This was not healthy. So I stopped the D&D thing, but learned a lot of lessons in terms of pace and story writing and game development, balancing. I made so many bad balancing decisions. Even the final boss that I shared, terrible balancing on my part. It was supposed to be hard, but also kind of doable, and it ended up just being a kind of a chore and an easy fight. I really did not like some of that specific, but that's also the Chapter 1 combat. The Chapter 2 combat, I only did betas of, and it was pretty promising, pretty fun stuff. Still a lot of work to do. I think ultimately I kind of knocked myself. And one of the other issues I have with game development that I need to learn how to avoid is, of course, getting stuck to a certain philosophy. Knowing it's a toxic philosophy, knowing it is an incorrect philosophy, but sticking with it because that's the way the game was built around. I just need to collapse that sometimes. Like, I was trying to stick to the 8 weapons, 8 attack system, trying to stick to clash systems, and just trying to build off of it, and it just there's a point where that doesn't work, right? There's a point where that doesn't work, and naturally included power creep to try and keep the dynamicism and choice options, but then once I started to make some systems for this, and I realized it wasn't enough to really reach what I wanted, I just kept going with it because I wanted to keep everything standardized and not lopsided, instead of just going back and fixing what I already just made fresh. So that was another issue too, and there's a lot of issues that I did. And I don't know if I'll be able to ever show that I've learned those lessons. I will probably make the same pitfall mistakes because I always make the same pitfall mistakes all the time. I will try my best when I make games. I will not talk about the concept of the game I am creating, but it will be actually Scratcher Hunter based. In terms of the combat scheme, not anything IP related. It is my own personal IP based on the same world plane as Planetary Planes that I had in my Dexys Decadencies, my little Pinus roleplay server with a couple friends online. That thing that I ran from January all the way until August. Actually, just I think just before August, right? Some late July. Although I did start early. No, I started in late December to have session zeros. I do have chat excerpts of everything, but no video excerpts, sadly. I think I might have a couple from the cold betas, but nothing interesting. It might be something I do present on my YouTube channel, but just like, hey, this is a cool combat system I came up with. If anyone wants to look at it and think about it and innovate off of it, maybe, I don't know. I do want to make a game out of that combat system, but not immediately, because that is a lot of effort that I am not ready for. So I'm sticking to the Scratcher Hunter combat system, because yeah, it is a lot harder to make that type of game. Like, there's a lot of, like, you have to make sure that your emotions are pretty sound, and a lot of balancing features because it's so freeform and everything, and timings are more important in such a game of not like an action-based game. But ultimately, it is much easier to create a pretty solid flow. With turn-based games, there's a very intricate balance line I feel like you have to reach. Like, action games, you're always having like this like a dopamine hit of things happening and things moving. Like, it doesn't really happen. Not really that big of a deal. And like with a turn-based system, I'd still want to have animations. So I basically pretty much just wait. I just got logged out of my system's idly while talking. Hopefully I'm not losing. Ooh, that might be bad. Okay, no, I'm still recording. I'm still live. Losing my train of thought off of that, but pretty much like with my turn-based ideas, especially with the D&D combat, I realized was having the animation figures, the figures for the characters playing the turn-based or GTV, game time-based, or whatever non-action combat system, strategic combat system I'm using. I still wanted to have those guys animated off of the actions that they take, which would mean that I basically do an action-based combat system step form with extra UI elements and decision making, which then becomes really, really painful to do. And I think action games are also just kind of naturally like more my thing. I made more of them. I also did a Battle Royale style game that didn't have any online features because I was just dumb. I made that. I think that was actually more 5th grade era type of stuff, maybe early 6th grade. Long time ago, 2018 for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going through my head at this point in time. And the main point of it all, though, is that yeah, Scratcher Hunter is coming to an end. Please play the update. Like, this update is pretty big. Hammer has been completely flipped on its head. There's so many weapons have gained a tremendous number of improvements. It is a completely different game with a ton of new features. I mean, it's not a completely different game. It plays very similarly, but it feels much better. A lot of QOL, a lot of new UI improvements too. It just feels fresh. It's crazy to think that there was a Title Update 4 that looks nothing like version 4.07. The difference between Title Update 3 and 4 is very massive. Just by the front page alone. But they're very similar by gameplay styles, I suppose. Like, it's about as different between those two as from 4 to 4.07. Like, Title Update 1 and 2, basically the same game. 2 and 3, pretty much the same game. Pretty different, but the gap gets larger and larger. I should just make my last update Title Update 5 and never update again. There's a lot of stuff I'd love to put into a Title Update 5, like skill systems, armor systems. I will say, Title Update 4, I never wanted to add, like, extensions to. If I did extensions, I could use like dictionaries and actual proper array systems that would make coding so much easier. If I did that, I would have been able to make so many more features so much faster, but I'm restraining because I kind of wanted things to stay in a way where they can be uploaded to scratch, but that's not going to be a possibility now. There's so many blocks of code, so much assets that nothing could upload at this point, but who cares? I like the game how it is. It's very nice. I might start giving into extensions in 4.7.1, even though that completely breaks semantic notations for updates, because technically that means it's not forward or backwards compatible, since it no longer works with Scratch at all, period. But I'm not going to call it Title Update 5 just because I slapped on gamepad support. I'm not about to fall into another pitfall of trying to make a Title Update 5 that justifies the Title Update change by adding in so many other features. That would just drain me and make a game update that doesn't come out for 2 years. I just want to get an update out there for people to enjoy. Because ultimately I'm doing this to make people enjoy and for myself to enjoy watching people play my game. And a lot of people are looking forward to controller support in Scratch Hunter. And they're not playing the game until they see controller support, because, like, yeah, I understand I make very dumb keybind systems. Just learn the keybind system. You'll get familiar with it after a while. Trust me, you can get a break out of your old habits. But that aside, I will try and, cater to accessibility. Accessibility is always good. Accessibility is never a bad thing. Always. Accessibility is just more options for everyone. So that's how I feel about that. I will try and make that update within the next couple of weeks. Enjoy Silksong. I've never played Hollow Knight, so moment in history. You can call me a heretic. I don't care. I should play more games, but I'm in Nimbus and Arknights main right now, and I really don't really have time for so much because college gaming. Let's go, which is going pretty nice so far. I'm enjoying it. Much better than high school. I feel like I was kind of burning down in senior year, to be fair. And yeah, it kind of reflects on how little I post about on my channel. Because oh my goodness, sometimes you just get burnt out and you just don't want to do anything else. But so far, I'm feeling a bit more fresh, so I'm posting out more videos. I think that might pick up on the mic, some people screaming out in the courtyard. Life happens. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you play Scratch Hunter. This did not feel like 22 minutes of yapping, but sometimes you can just talk forever. I could also do some more things about playing this. I will be probably posting short stories on here. One of the ideas I had for my plan to get people to play my new games when I start releasing them on Steam and all that is doing so. I don't know. I've seen my dad send me some of these, and I just laugh and cry to myself. The really obvious garbage AI generated stories that they probably pump out by the day or the hour. Basically doing that but not using AI, because Gen AI bad. Do not use Gen AI for creative work, and even then, even non-creative stuff, be careful. Don't use that stuff to emulate you. It's not you. It never will be you. It's just plagiarizing other people's work without you knowing. Don't be complicit in that. Don't be complicit in that. Whoa, that's a Discord ping. But pretty much, yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't know, just reading Discord pings, one of my D&D members talking to me. We have a nice little private server. I'm chill with all of them. I love this game. I love the game of life. I'm going really insane now. This is what happens when we get past the 20-minute mark talking to me. Even getting past the 5-minute mark, it's going out the window. But point being, I keep on saying that this entire recording because it is so easy for me to use my train of thought. Just in the action of speaking makes you really use your train of thought. But really what I wanted to say is that what was it? What was the original train of thought before running that Discord thing? Yeah, so basically, those AI generated stories disgusting. Don't be complicit in plagiarism, but I do want to make short stories, pump them out, maybe with attention grabbing, not Subway Surfer, but Minecraft builds of my famous world, and then have the famous story. I have a perfectionist nature. I want to make the stories good, so it's really hard for me to write them because I must make them long and good and juicy. I just need to write stuff. I need to learn to just embrace being awful and knowing that I cannot make good art and I'm only good at making slop material. And once I accept that, I'll just pump out slop, and then but it's slop that I made and not AI slop. So it's woo, good stuff. Okay, I'm going unhinged. But whatever I was going to say was that I'm going to probably be posting a bunch of that stuff soon, but it's actually it's poor quality, but I made it, and also it's setting up for when I make my game. that's just a kind of a side project I'm going to be doing. And besides that, like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoy. Please Scratcher Hunter. You might see some of those in the channel later. Like, Scratcher Hunter is going to come out soon first. All the Scratcher Hunter posting, and by doing that, I can kind of set myself up for starting to dish out some of those short stories once I get a rhythm on it. But ultimately, schoolwork comes first. I'll just be dedicating my weekends to grinding my face away, typing off stories for people to read or probably never read. But hey, you know what? Also, I probably will start posting shorts of like either speedruns or of these short stories just to get people to like click on them. You know, probably build the audience. Gotta be scummy to win in the scummy world. Unfortunately, you do. But you know, you guys can hate me. Life is life. People hate me. Deal with it. I deal with it. Ah! Anyways, play Scratcher Hunter!